Prime Minister Gordon Brown earlier this week described his struggles to communicate with voters when he was at the helm at Number 10 and admitted he wasn't an ideal fit in an age that put personal politics on the main stage, but is showing a human side a sign of being a good boss, or should it be kept strictly business? To get more on this, I'm joined from our central London studio by the career coach Jenny Garrett and the journalist and author Rhymer Rigby. Good morning to you both. Jenny, Gordon Brown speaking earlier this week saying he didn't show enough emotion in the 2010 election. Do we need to see emotion from our leaders and bosses?
Absolutely. I think we need to show that we are human, that we are vulnerable, that we make mistakes, and that enables us to make real connection with our colleagues, with our staff, or in his case, with voters. We want to connect with real people, people who are flawed, people who are human, and that helps us to come to terms with who we are and really connect.
It's interesting, isn't it, Rhymer? Politicians are very reluctant to say sorry and admit flaws because they'll be accused of being weak by certain areas. But when it comes to being a boss, should you be afraid to admit you've got it wrong or that you are flawed?
I think politicians are in a slightly unusual position in that they are both bosses and celebrities. I think for a boss, yes, admitting you were wrong every now and then is a very good thing to do and can actually sort of paradoxically make you look stronger.
It's quite interesting. We talk about people being touchy-feely, which today is definitely the wrong turn of phrase to use, Jenny, given what's going on. But a lot of people in the workplace will describe themselves as touchy-feely people. They see it as a way of expressing their emotions. So if another colleague is upset at work, they will go up and give them a hug. Is that appropriate in the workplace? Is that a step too far?
I think what we have to be is emotionally intelligent, and that term was coined by Daniel Goleman some time ago, and that's about being self-aware and thinking about how your actions impact your colleagues, your customers, the people around you. So some people might not want a hug, and forcing them to have a hug if they don't want to be touched is inappropriate. But there are times when it's okay to give someone a hug, and what you might say is it okay? I'd love to give you a hug, and they can say no. So it's not always being touchy-feely. It's not about touching and feeling people, and especially if we think about what's been happening recently with inappropriate behaviour in the workplace. But it's much more thinking about what people need and how your actions impact them, and asking permission to see what people need and understanding them.
Yeah, Rhymer, Jenny mentions their emotional intelligence. What kind of emotional intelligence does a good boss need to have?
I think being attuned into what what those you manage are thinking and feeling is very important. And I think she's right as well that you don't necessarily need to be hugging people, but what you do need is, to be aware of what they're thinking and feeling. Obviously, it's only part of being a boss, though. It's not, being sort of fair and being decent and displaying leadership. But it's part of the boss package, I guess.
There's being sympathetic and being emotionally intelligent, isn't there, Jenny? And then there's being friends with your boss. Now, a lot of people will say your boss shouldn't be your friend because that blurs the line. So if, for instance, there is an area where discipline is needed, that can be very uncomfortable and make the road difficult to navigate.
Yeah, I think boundaries are always important, and I think there's a lot here. In terms of being a boss, you need a good IQ and you need to have your technical expertise. To get you to the next level, then you also need the emotional intelligence, which can be developed. And emotional intelligence is about building relationships. It's about not judging. It's about asking questions. It's about understanding your impact on other people. But that doesn't mean you become their best friend. That doesn't mean you spend every weekend with them or you spend your time at each other's houses. But it might mean that you take an interest in the whole person. So you might ask about their children or their family or what they did at the weekend. And you're not this sort of bulletproof person who has no issues yourself. So that, you do have to judge those boundaries.
OK, Rhymer, just a final word from you before we go. How do bosses get the balance right between being the boss and being emotionally attuned to their employees' needs?
I think you need to remember that you're a boss first, and probably also that famously people join organisations but they leave bosses. So, yes, behave with decency, and part of that decency is recognising that you're managing people, not robots.
OK, Rhymer Rigby and Jenny Garrett, interesting to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much.